What's up, everybody? My name is Mekhai Lee. I am the co-creator, writer, and director of For the Boys.
Hey, I'm Ellis Dawson. I am the other co-writer, co-creator, multi-hyphenated artist, and welcome to Black of the Berry.
Oh shit, Los. Oh shit, Los. First of all, you got Los and I in the same motherfucking place at the same goddamn time. Yeah. Then on top of that, we about to be bringing y'all the 2020 version of Noah's Ark. We're gonna get into that into a little second. These brothers decided that they were gonna hop off from the stages of giving y'all the pleasure of watching them perform. One was a genie, one was out here, as Harpo from The Color Purple. Listen, they said their names before. I'm gonna say it one more time. That right there is Mr. Mekhai Lee. That over there is Ellis Dawson III. This right here is Black of the Berry, because I am Dean. That right there is the Madman Los. What's up, y'all?
Hey,
look at that.
Players from the Himalayas.
Great introduction. Love that.
Yes, bringing in that energy.
Yeah, son.
Good morning, brother. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Ellis.
Yes, welcome
happy
back.
to be back.
You know what I mean? Kind of welcome. This is gonna be the most weirdest, divergent, but also interviewing ass fucking episode ever. So we're gonna get to a good interview, and
we are going to open our fans up a little bit.
And Dean's gonna go on his tangents. You already know that's gonna happen.
Yeah, we are gonna listen, y'all. We are gonna have some fun here. This is a story, and these are stories I believe that absolutely positively need to be told. Because guess what? Within our community, no matter if you're straight, if you're gay, bisexual, lesbian, doesn't matter. These people are in your family. These characters that we are going to be talking about soon. This series that we're going to be breaking down for the boys. So let's kind of just get right into it. What was the moment for both of you that y'all knew that it was like, you know what? We have to create a series talking about our story in the correct way. And then on top of that, not only does that kind of story need to be told, but then when was it that it was like, you know what, we got to be the motherfuckers to do it too. Like, we can't trust no one else with this prized possession.
Well, for me, I remember looking out in media and like watching things like, there's been a resurgence of Black art in mainstream media. I say
Absolutely.
like Insecure has come out, and like that's been really inspiring. Seeing folks like Issa Rae come out the woodwork and make work for Black people, that was authentic.
Tyler Perry.
Well, exactly. Tyler Perry has done it for a while, and I think that there was a lot of folks who were making it that were true to them and authentic for them, but we weren't seeing that full version when it came to queer Black men in this country or queer people at all. We see a lot of it in stuff like Pose. We see it in, I don't know if you guys know the play Angels in America. There's a character Belize that's written, and then we see folks like RuPaul and like drag queens and things like that. So we see queerness has become accepted in this country, or at least more popular, and the idea of Blackness has become more popular. But where do those worlds collide? And
right.
At the time we're looking around, we were like, yo, there's like no real series, there's no real show that shows that realness for us, that shows what it is to be that in this world, especially in fucking New York City. So we felt like we had to be the ones to create that, because we were in this artistic community, in this community of queer people, of queer Black people. And we were looking around and seeing just the entire spectrum of it, and just felt like, yo, this is a show that needs to happen now. We are hilarious people. We are fun people. We're joyful people. We are loving and giving people. And then on another note about that, like when it comes to queer representation, a lot of it is sexualized. We want to show what it is to be friends with, platonically friends with folks, and just have like the love in that circle.
Preach.
And actually, the start of this happened separately. Like 3 years ago, I wrote a pilot episode of a web series. I was going to call it BBC Black Boy Conscious, where it followed 3 gay best.
I like the play on words though. We gotta know that one. Yeah. I see what you're doing there, player.
Yeah, flipping. I hate when white gays say BBC. So I was like, how can I flip it and turn it into something else? So I wrote this pilot 3 years ago about these 3 best friends. They were in their late 20s living in New York. And then Mekhai and I met kind of serendipitously. I wrote on Facebook that I was going to go see Shakespeare in the Park, Much Ado About Nothing. And Mekhai, who I did not know at all, we were just Facebook friends. He was like, I want to come. Because I was like, I'm going to go see this show. Does anyone want to come with me? I'll stand in line, just show up. He was like, I'll come. So we hit it off that day, and then we started hanging out and going to the park during the summer and just chatting about life. And then he mentioned he wrote a pilot episode called The Beautiful Ones that followed 3 queer best friends in New York who were in their early to mid-20s. And then a couple of months went by, and I brought it up to him. I was like, I wrote something. So we switched scripts and read them. I read his script, he read mine. And then he called me like the next day and was like, I think we should try and do this together. We should try and like put these stories together and try and make like one. And then it kind of happened like that. So it's funny because we both had the idea separately without knowing each other, which means that if we both had the idea, I'm sure more people had that idea and wanted to do it.
And it's funny because like a lot of our characters were very similar, you know, like the lines across the 2 worlds were they were like very similar characters, you know, so it was not hard to bring these different stories, these different worlds, and make one kind of like mashup of the 2, you know. And honestly, my script versus Ellis's script individually is so much better coming together. You know what I mean? Like,
combination of 2 minds.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And having just the different breadth of experiences that we've had, and just like the different folks that we know, and like people that we've met, you know, bringing that into the series and understanding that, you know, the depth of our community, you know, having the full depth of it, you know.
And that's it, because I think that there's a huge demographic, but I think that sometimes there's the part of the demographic that is there and exists, and then there's the part that like later discover it, you know what I mean? And I think that right now, like, people are yearning for just the portrayal of, you know,
of who they are,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm
nobody
saying? They want characters that they can relate to. You know what I mean? Look at how everybody turned out when we seen T'Challa. Rest in peace, Chadwick. But when we saw a black man and powerful like that, we resonated with that and we loved it. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of people in America and all over the world that's craving this kind of display of in character and these characters, you know. So
and then something too, like to their earlier points, you know, of not always sexualizing, you know, gay black men. It's like this is going to be tastefully done. Like, for instance, if any of you out there watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, we can talk about, like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine has, who's it, Captain or Lieutenant Holt? Captain? Holt, right? Yeah, so it's Lieutenant Holt. He's a gay black man who happens to be, obviously, he's the captain lieutenant of that division, right? The way his character is done, it is tasteful. Like, when I watch it, I'm like, this is wonderful. You're starting to you are showing that there are you know, everyone's not the fucking same. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just act like, you know, just because, like, you know, you're gay, that automatically you're just going to fall into some kind of box. But then certain people believe that because, like, you know, think about it. They're like, I've, you know, all of us here, you know, college educated. We've all been to classes and we've met, you know, white people who've been like, yeah, no, I've never met a black person. It's kind of like, how the fuck do you never meet a black person? But then you live in the middle of nowhere. So then you got, you know, obviously the stigma for years on what it was to be gay. You see what I'm saying? So then like, so if you were heavily in the closet in certain places. So then these people never met gay people. And then when the only thing that they see is always over sexualized, it's OD. But shout out to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I think that obviously, I know that For the Boys is going to do that and then some. You know, that in spades.
So let's get into the characters, man. Let's talk about the bond of these young.
How do you get to these 3
distinguished characters?
One of the characters is Ellis to me, in a way. He's a photographer,
and that's my thing. I wanted to see is it experience? Is it like things that happen relate, like stories, you know, maybe friends of you, you know, that you just kind of put that into, you know.
It's
like,
funny. We were kind of talking about this last night about how we chose 3 characters and they kind of like are different parts of the spectrum of queerness, of black queerness, or what it is and everything.
Yes, that's what it is, and that's and you were and actually both of you guys just hit that point, because I think Mekhai, you had said that, or just one of you guys had said that, where it's kind of just like you know, like there's a spectrum. And it's not when people say they're queer or you're gay, you're not in a box.
Yeah,
it is. It's very vague. Just like black people, we come in spades.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So this, and you, I think you said it before. You're talking about like RuPaul and everybody's all different type of characters, but there's along the spectrum of what it is.
And then also too, you got characters like the one that was in, I think it was Scandal. His character was gay, I believe. He was, I think he was a cold-blooded killer. Cold-blooded killer. Like, you can get fucked up in these streets, y'all. Okay. Y'all keep, you get fucked up. Like, Ellis is big as shit. like, low key, when I met Ellis, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, he's like 6 foot a lot.
Not 6 foot a lot.
6 foot a lot. Oh my god.
Continue.
That was
Sorry.
important for us to represent the entire spectrum. So one of the characters, Jamal, actually reminds me a lot of Ellis. You know, when we were writing him, he's kind of awkward. He has that insecure Issa Rae awkward charm. You know, he's really sweet, really endearing, a hopeless romantic, a photographer, an artist through and through, loves Black art, Black creating space and curating space for Black bodies. But we actually find him throughout the season, and without giving too much away, he finds himself in a relationship, an interracial relationship, and has to kind of navigate what that is to be, especially in this climate, in this year, in this world. You know, how can I be pro-Black and super for my people, and then have this, you know, white boyfriend, so to speak. You know what I mean? This white lover. So to
and
speak.
we've talked about that too in a previous episode.
Yes, we have.
Can you be pro-Black and date someone interracial?
And we pose the question. I think we want the audience to decide really what that is for them. We don't say what we give 2 very polarizing ideas of it. Like, it is or it isn't. And then you see 2 characters kind of butt heads at it. Two of the boys, Jamal and one of the friends, they butt heads about this idea. And you also see Jamal grappling in himself, like, how can I show up and be my full self with this person? And when I look at him, after dealing with the day, after dealing with everything that's going on, after seeing the news, you know, after everything that's going on, especially in this year, and I look at this person and he's my comfort, but when I see him and the skin that he's in, it brings me like, can I show up and be my full self? Right. Can I show up? Because I'm going to have to potentially explain my existence every day. He'll never be able to fully understand what is that like in real time. And it's also what adds stakes to that is he's in his mid-20s. We don't give a real age, but I'm going to say he's like 26, 27. He's never been in a relationship before. He's never been in a relationship, and he's a hopeless romantic. And he's always had this idea of who this perfect man was going to be. And it shows up in this body that he's like, wait,
he doesn't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, is this what this is supposed to be? And then you see him figure it out. What is that like? Is it compromising? Are you compromising your identity if you are dating someone who's
Can we just say white? Because and the reason I'm just gonna say white is for this reason. Yeah. So it's because so both Los and I are in what is called interracial relationships, but they're both with Spanish people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Right.
Puerto Rican and what is Venetia?
She's Guatemalan.
Oh, you see what I'm saying? And then she's dark too. So so that's a different conversation. Like that's an easier. Definitely. You know what I mean? That's just you know what I mean. That's just it's just 2 different sides of fucked up.
Right.
But when
y'all both brown.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But it's different when it's.
It's
someone white. So that's why I wanted to just kind of point it out. Like I know y'all saying that's what I'm saying. Like I know y'all saying interracial, but it's like all right.
No,
because this brother's probably got freckles and he's gonna have red hair and there's gonna be like I should punch you in the face.
And we are very unapologetic about how we talk about it. Like we're not trying to please anybody with what we say, how we say it. So we are not trying to appease to the white gaze. GAZE. And GAYS. That it's not. We're not trying to.
Can we talk about
those are some motherfuckers?
Wait. Before we even get too far, can we talk about the distinction between the 2? for one who does not understand. Okay. I was like, what is the difference between the Z and the S?
So the white gaze, meaning like we're not appeasing to a white audience. We are not. That's why on the end of all of our things we say this one's for us. It's kind of like the Salon song, "For Us by Us." You know, all my niggas in the whole wide world. That's like the vibe that we're giving the whole way through. This is for us by us. So we're not appeasing. We're not appealing to their gaze. So we're not being precious about what we talk about. Like it's not like
it's geared.
Oh well, they can't say. Yeah, it's like oh well, they can't say certain things because they don't want to step on certain on toes or whatever. And then white gaze, meaning like this is a show for Black gay men. White gay men will be able to see themselves in it as well. Anyone can see themselves if you have a friend group. If you have friends, you're going to be able to see yourself. But this is for us, by us. And we're not appealing to either one of those.
Not queer as folk, basically.
You get to see that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to queer as
when
folk.
you see, like, especially when you see white people in interracial relationships, you know, we always see it from their gaze, from their point of view. So it's really good to see it from on the flip side. Like, how do Black people feel about being in these relationships with people who are white, with people who are outside of our race, and having to bring them in our friend groups and our communities and our families and stuff like that. So
because that's like the double whammy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like it's one thing being Black and dating a white girl, but then it's like, okay,
you're a Black man and then you're gonna walk in with a white man.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
That brings a whole nother pressure to it sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Because then, like, you know, because everybody's got their views, and you know, you believe what you want, but you know, when you walking down the street and then people look at you sometimes, and then like, you know, you see a woman will see you, and then it'll be like, what are you doing? And it's like, get the fuck out of my way. That's what I'm doing. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, don't worry about what I'm doing. It don't matter if like I'm like, they're just like, oh, you should be reading material. You should suck my dick.
So
go ahead, dude.
And then
so here's a question that I have. So we just talked a little bit about Jamal. Right. You said you were able to see Ellison, which I was also able, like when I was looking at everything, when like, you know, because we follow the page. So when it's getting released, when I first saw Jamal, I was like, I don't know why. I was like, I feel as if this character is going to be a representation of Ellis. Like, you know what I mean? Like I saw a bigger brother. He was out there doing the photography and everything. And then he looked just like, you could see the innocence. And I was like, I can see Ellis. I just saw a connection. But I need to know. Who is gonna be Saeed and who is Anthony? Like who are they? Where did y'all come up with them two?
Well, I'll talk about Saeed because I love Saeed because he's so much fun. He's promiscuous. I like to say that
he looks wild.
He is a little wild. He's Living Singles. Maxine Shaw meets Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. He's a lot of energy. He's mad fun. He's
yes. Every show needs one. Every show needs one.
Exactly. He's the party girl. But reasons I love him is because not only is he promiscuous, he has these throughout the season he has these like random hookups, which is quite a culture that we have in the Black community. Just like hookup culture where we have, you know, random encounters with people and like souls merge for a night really quick. You know, it's like random one night stands, and you have these like besides sexualizing it between the sex, what are the conversations that we have with these people? And I like the fact that we get to represent different types of gay folks through Saeed's random encounters, you know? So he might have these two friends and these are the people that we stick with, but Saeed hooking up with all these folks, we actually meet more of the community through that way. So,
and then you also see with him how he's using sex. It's not like you just see it and it's just like, oh, he's just fucking everybody, which it's not that. You see that there's a reason behind it, and it's something deeper within himself that he's having a hard time confronting with. So he runs away from it. And what does he do? He uses sex as a vice to numb himself from what he's really feeling. So you see this season, you understand a little bit more as to why he does the things he do. I feel like when you see hypersexualized and over-sexualized people or people that are perceived that way, you don't know the why. You just see them always with people, and it's just like, what is that for? It seems like it's for shock value. And also, like Mekhai said, is that in the moments that the encounters happen, it's the conversations that are happening in between. It's not about the sex, because a lot of series, which there's nothing wrong with this, but a lot of web series end up hiring sex workers. Like a lot of Black gay web series that I've seen end up hiring sex workers, and it's like a thin plot to get to the sex scene to draw in viewers. So it's like thin plot really doesn't mean anything. Let's get to the big sex scene where we get to show the whole thing or whatever as much as we can. For us, it's like you see the meeting, we give you like a really tasteful, I guess the best way to put it is if you've ever seen it's Spike Lee. He's the college
the right
film.
thing. I mean, no. She's Gotta Have It.
School Days. There's a scene in School Days where it's like Tisha Campbell and the guy who plays Gus from Breaking Bad. What's his name?
The Latino-looking dude. I can't remember either.
But
I'll do my young Jamie. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll bring it up.
They have a sex scene where it's like you just see like her kissing on his neck. It's like tableaus, like them holding each other and stuff like that. So it's not like we do it in a way.
It gives you the vibe. It's not like
it gives you the vibe.
It's tasteful. It's tasteful. Yeah.
It's really tasteful, and then it's really more about these two humans connecting and both of them finding out that they have things in common. And yeah, it's like you meet these strangers, and sometimes it's like the universe puts you at the same place at the same time, and like your walls drop.
Yeah.
And for like for a split second, for a couple of hours, two souls connect, not only in the physical, but like the spiritual. And you see that there's this line that I really love. It's one of the lines that one of the guys says is, we all lonely motherfuckers, trying to have company. We always looking for, we're always on the hunt of looking for something. At some point, we're all lonely motherfuckers. Yeah.
So I think, let's kind of get into gay relationships a little bit. And what I mean by that is just to kind of break it down for people so they can kind of understand what you're saying when you mean two souls are merging. Now, would you say that this is because within the gay community, a lot of times it's the stigma of everyone's being promiscuous, right? But then also too, for the longest time, everyone had to find themselves. Excuse me, I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to say everyone had to find themselves for a while. So then the minute they find themselves, it's kind of like they're like, hellhounds on the loose a little bit for a while.
Right.
Kind of going into that promiscuousness, then meeting people, having these conversations, because there's only but so many people who truly understand the struggle.
Yeah.
So that's what you mean by when it's like two souls merging? Is that what I'm getting at?
Yes. Yeah. You see these two strangers. It happens once actually in our show. You see these two strangers who have never met before, besides to hook up. And then you see them connect over very specific experience. They had no idea that they were going to connect over this. They thought it was like, oh, this is just about to be a hit and quit situation. And you see them connect over very specific. It's not like trauma bonding, but you see them connect over something very, very specific.
It has a lot to do with the fact that they just are in a similar community. Being Black in this country, we all have certain things that we all go through, we all understand. Being gay in this country, we all have things that we go through, we all understand. So by the mere fact that they are in the same community, after they finish their deed, they finish having sex with each other, they realize, we're not too far off from each other like we thought. We're actually quite similar folks. We can sit here and talk. They like laugh with each other. The walls come down. They have a really tender moment with each other. They share, and they're smoking too. So in our show, weed becomes sort of this truth serum, so because they're high, the walls come down, the honesty comes out. They are able to be vulnerable in this moment, and which is not a thing that we get to see Black men be often. Like we say in our promo vid, we don't get to see Black men be soft, be vulnerable with each other, to touch on each other, platonically or not. So in this instance, and in many instances throughout the show, we use weed as this truth serum to get people to kind of relax, and we get to see past these facades that Black men have to daily put up, these kind of tough exteriors. We break those walls down. We move those brick by brick. We take them down. So that's something that I really love about Saeed, because on that note, Saeed is somebody that people might find to be gorgeous, beautiful, outside people might look at him and be like, that's a very attractive person. But we actually learned that Saeed is struggling with his own sense of worth, regardless of how others outside may perceive him. He looks in the mirror, he may not agree necessarily. So
and that's a trait that anybody, doesn't matter who the hell you are, you can grasp.
Indifferent, we all can relate to looking in the mirror and having something that we want to change, we want to fix, you know what I mean? And the reason we gave it to the character that we deem as the pretty one, his friends are always calling him pretty. Every time he's at a party, people are always like, he's attractive. People don't want to compliment him because they think his head is, bigger than it is. When in actuality, he's struggling with confidence. He needs his friends to really rely on for guidance, for help throughout a process of his own sense of worth,
Yeah.
So that was really important for us to showcase. And I think we did a Zoom read through actually a couple months ago when we were first writing it. And one of the people listening in, they just kind of came to visit and listen. They said they really resonated with that because they are somebody who's on Broadway. And in this business, a lot of the time, we succeed not only because we're talented, and I don't say we as Ellis and I, but like we in the general speaking, people succeed not because they're talented, but because also they're very attractive, So we have a lot of folks in this business who attach their sexuality, attach their prettiness, for lack of a better word, to their worth. So when they're not working, when they're not booking, or in times like this when Broadway is down, they don't know how to look in the mirror and be like, yo, who the fuck am I? How do I relate to this world? Outside of my exterior beauty, outside of how I look when my clothes are off, or how I look in this certain outfit, how I dress, how I express externally. Who am I on the inside? How do I water the garden that is my heart? So we wanted to really explore that with our pretty character, so to speak.
So after you
that
guys,
motherfucker's got layers. That's a whole
layers.
Like him and him, like that character in itself could just be
a show.
Exactly. Like that's just goddamn.
But so like when you to Dean's point, when you guys build these backstories for all these characters, hold
on. Before we get to we gotta close it out.
What?
We gotta close it out before we get on to that. Anthony. We haven't talked about Anthony.
Oh yes, we have.
Anthony.
I just thought about that just as is.
Yeah.
I know where you were about to go, but I was like, let's let him. Let's So we don't want to forget about good old Ant.
Anthony, we did a Zoom reading like a week or two ago, and as we were listening to this text, we were describing him one way kind of, and then we were hearing it back, and we had the realization that he's kind of, in a way, if you think of the show Girlfriends, he's kind of like the Maya of the group. He's like the glue of the group. We have him as the youngest. Jamal and Saeed live together, but Anthony does not live with them. But he's the glue that brings everyone together, definitely. He's also the type of person where he just kind of has that like it factor. No one knows what, it's just like he just is. However, he's worked for this. This isn't something that happened overnight. I always love to say that when you normally see a movie, you start at the beginning when the character has this huge obstacle to face and they're broken or something's wrong. And then they go through all these things and then they hit this resolution where they become this new person, and then credits, the movie ends. And it's like, okay, now what happens? So with Anthony, you see him at his credits. You see him at the end of his movie and what happens after that. So this is a person who does not subscribe to gender norms in the way he dresses. If you saw the last promo to the where he's walking in and he's putting on makeup, he's doing a beat to his face, but he has this huge, beautiful beard. He has the do-rag or whatever. So it's like when you see him, you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. And that's what we love about him, is that he doesn't fit the norms. Because one day he might be wearing a do-rag and a beater, with some jeans or whatever. The next day he might be in a full skirt, with the crop top, with the full beat or whatever. And I feel like when you normally
boundaries of gender expression up, like he just kind of explodes them with what he wears, what he decides to put on, and it really is outside of what we know to be gender expression, So for that. So.
And we also see a character like that who is not looking for love end up finding love, and finding someone loving him, warts and all. And for him, that's a little hard to grasp because he's been working so hard on himself that he's like, I'm not letting anybody into this. I just got to this place where I'm comfortable enough to be my full, authentic self. We see him live without fear. We have this really beautiful moment that I won't say much on, but at the beginning of the show, where it's very apparent that he's actively deciding to be himself, relentlessly to be himself. And then we see what that's like, a character like that to be loved on fully and be accepted for exactly who he is.
Right.
And it's going to be really beautiful to see.
And also, Anthony's very joyful. He's the peacemaker within his friend group. And, you know, every time we post stuff about Anthony, we always say things like, if you think you know who he is, you got another thing coming. Because I feel like a lot of people see these folks you go downtown in New York City or certain areas of Brooklyn, and you see niggas wearing boots and like heels and skirts. And, you know, you think you have an idea of what that is. You're just like, word, I see who you are. And that's cool. I'm glad you expressed. And like people who are not in the community in the way that Ellis and I are, or people who are not, who don't know these people at all, will have an idea of what that is and kind of like, as we've said in the beginning, put it in a box. And what I love about Anthony is that we get to explore underneath that, you know, like these people go home and take their shoes off and their pants off just like the rest of us, you know, like they get, you know, they take a shower, all that shit. Like they just think in the same way that ours does, you know, so they're not much different than, when we really think about it, than who we are. And it's really actually crazy because I was speaking to a family member of mine, and this is just a kind of a tangent, but like I'm talking to family members and they know what I'm working on. And, you know, as we know how Black people, especially from older generations, view the artistic community, the eclectic community, the gay community, they have this stigma attached to it. So when they all, you know, knew that I was making this series and they were looking at the promo vids, they was like, oh, you really going there? You got a brother wearing makeup. Oh, okay, cool. Like that's what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, but like when I really think about it, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, this is something that I would have never thought I would have put in a series that I was making. This is something I would have never like fully considered. But having lived in the city, having been in this community, having met people like Ellis, having met the actor playing Anthony Chandler, and gone to school and seeing folks come out as non-binary, folks come out as trans, like there is a whole segment of queer community that we honestly don't get to touch on as much as we'd like to within the confines of a web series, but there are people who need to see themselves represented in that way, outside of just being men, you know, like when we, or like what it is to be a man, expressing in that way with their gender. So it's really important to me that we see Anthony, you know, break the confines of what it is to have gender expression, you know, kind of toe the line of masculine and feminine, and still have these friends and still fall in love with who he falls in love with, and, you know, explore the same things that we all desire in this life. So
yeah, and when we held auditions for the show, which was during the pandemic, we had people send in tapes, and the actor who is playing Anthony sent us messages and was like, I've never seen anything like this. I've never felt more seen.
Yeah.
And that's how we knew we were on the right track. He's like, I've never seen something so close to home that was so truthful.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and to this day, like we'll be on Instagram and we get DMs from people in Houston, from people in Idaho, kids, you know, Black kids who probably don't see this as often as we get to here in New York. You know, being in New York, we're in a melting pot. So we get to see, you know, all different walks of life, you know, and people who are in the Midwest and like in smaller towns and stuff, they are finding us on Instagram simply by nature of social media. And they get to see this representation, whether it be in a thicker boy, in Jamal, in somebody laid up with someone in Saeed, or someone applying makeup to their face and having a beard and being like free and authentic about that. And they see themselves in these videos and they really resonate with it. We gain followers daily, not even to flex like that. Like we just literally, people who like really love the show are like, yo, they're resonating with it deeply. So,
well, I think that just speaks to art and creativity in general. Like, you know, when you, and then that's why y'all gonna have a successful series, because, you know, truth connects with folk. You know what I mean? Like in a different way. Like,
and people are yearning for it too right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you know what I mean? Because now it's like the time that everybody's like, listen, like get my story up there and get it. Like, you know what I mean? I want to get it heard, and it's like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Why not? You know what I mean? Especially like, you know, even if you like, all right, for y'all out there who are like, you know, business folks, from a business standpoint, why would you not want to tap into this demographic? Yeah. This is a whole demographic that no one wants to pay attention to for some odd reason.
It is
just because like, you know,
it makes people feel uncomfortable.
Besides, I don't give a fuck. Besides that, like, you know, besides them and their uncomfortableness, something else too that, like, you know, I think that goes on with the country itself, is that, like, you know, they all like to go like, you know, well, traditionally man, woman. Like, yeah, I understand the country was founded on Christian values, but separation of church and state, motherfuckers. So, and then at the end of the day, you
That's
know,
a whole different conversation. We can really get into that shit.
you see, like, you know what I mean? Like the separation of church and state. And then on top of that, like, you know, I'm like, you know, we live in America. So in America, you know, because of our constitution, technically I'm supposed to be able to do whatever the fuck I want. Like, you know, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You just live your fucking life. That's what it's called being in this country.
Why the fuck do you even care?
And a lot, you know what? And to me, though, I personally find it like a lot of people that most people are comfortable and they all have this adverse and angry reaction to it. I'm just like, so whose dick are you sucking? Like, whose dick are you running from? Like that's really what it comes down to. Because nobody got time for it. And then once again, you can get fucked up. Like y'all got to remember this. You can get fucked up. Like y'all can, like this shit ain't like. This shit ain't the fucking, like, you know, like the 80s where you think you just gonna like just run up on some motherfuckers. Like y'all get hurt out here.
Right,
you know
right.
I mean? Motherfuckers is like shapes and sizes and different shit. Like it's funny. It's funny how much shit they were giving Michael Sam for a little bit. Like, you know, his first thing, like he's an NFL player who came out.
Okay, yes.
The defensive end. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't really that good for the NFL. Like you kind of knew that he wasn't gonna. He wasn't like, we're both sports fans. We knew that he wasn't gonna really like kind of go over. But it's kind of like, it's hilarious.
I still don't know though. The question.
I understand why they had to do it in the NFL.
If he didn't come out, would you think his draft stock would have been a little more, you know, like different? Somebody would have got him in like, so for this is football talk. So somebody would have got him probably, I realized, in like maybe the 5th or 6th round, because he was a defensive, like his conference, like he was all conference in the SEC, and the SEC is known for like
to produce good players. So he could play football, but you wouldn't draft him high under any circumstances. But
I think that's because, I don't think it's because, but I think it's related that the fact he came out before the draft.
I do think that it affected his stock in a negative way.
That's a shame.
I think that it affected his stock in a negative way. But once again, I don't like, and he proved like he couldn't play in the NFL. Yeah. But then I also too, like, who knows how much that shit was mental, just him like fucking with himself. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, like who knows? But like, I didn't really think that he.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure. He was the first.
Yeah, that's
really
true.
Come out. He was like the ambassador almost.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I don't think anyone else has in the NFL since.
No.
But that's just, I don't know, just kind of like, just
side tangent.
Yeah, side tangent. Sorry. We kind of do that on BTB sometimes. We kind of get up on the tangent. Yeah, no, the reason we're talking about, we got on Michael Sam was because of just saying, like, you know, it's all shapes and sizes, the demographic that you know, people can tap into. Yeah. So like, you know, even from a business standpoint. So like honestly, I think that it's great that, you know, that y'all have created this and y'all are telling a story. But now I need to, you know, we gotta get behind the scenes a little bit, because you know, one of you was.
Do we have a clip that we can show them? You got that? Do we have a clip? Do we have a clip? We have a clip.
Yeah, I have a. We can put the clip up. I have that.
Do it now. I'm just saying we can do it in post production.
Oh! I was gonna get my young Jamie on.
Yeah, I mean, nah, we don't.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all watch Joe Rogan, but you know, that's the young Jamie. So, he's the producer, search of shit.
You know what I mean? So we can put the promo clip. I'm gonna be like, here, boom. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, perfect. Oh yeah.
Okay, and then we'll come back.
Well, here's hit book. So now we've done that. Boom. Yeah. Okay. We're back. Okay. So listen, as both of you who are professional actors, like you get, you know, y'all get paid to do y'all shit. You know what I mean? Like, so
talk lightly.
Talk to them nicely. And remember, Ellis is 6 foot a lot.
Right.
So, so how is it now that instead of y'all taking the notes, instead of y'all just getting the script and then having to
being in front,
be the character, like, you know, just have to worry about your character? How is it now having to not only worry about these characters, but like every character, a full story, and then on top of that, you are also the director. So you're not only, you know, writing this, but then now you also got to direct it. Y'all are handing out notes, executive producer. Sometimes I may have to fire somebody. A character may have to die. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, no, like,
No, for real.
no, I'm dead ass. I'm dead ass. Somebody may have to die. Like, not for nothing. Listen, Anthony, Saeed, Jamal, I'm pretty sure I'm going to like y'all, but who knows if y'all make it to season 2? Somebody could go. You never know.
Not in season 1. Not in season 1.
Why not? You never know.
It could.
They made
not in season 1.
They made what's that? What was that show that everybody loved? Game of Thrones. Wasn't they often the main character got off
every episode? Yeah. It was like every episode. Someone.
I'm just saying, we may start off with these 3, and then we may end off with, like, who knows, Jeffrey, you know, Kevin and Winston. Who knows? Like, you know what I'm saying?
So it's red rum for the boys. That's what you're saying? It turns in from for the boys to red rum for the boys.
You know what I'm saying? So how do y'all manage that? And then are y'all having issues at all? Like do you have issues like wearing the different, like, do you get confused sometimes? Like does it fuck with you?
Well, no. I mean, for me, I'm glad that I have Ellis, honestly, because I would be overwhelmed being a director, a writer, cinematographer, a script analysis guy, trying to keep up with everything. You know, we hold each other accountable quite a bit. So I really, really do appreciate having Ellis there. Being an actor in this situation, just having worked so extensively in theater, I think us having the background and the resume helps us in this situation. When we were shooting our promos, you know, quite honestly, it came pretty naturally. I can't even lie.
Like young vets.
Yeah, kind of. It feels that way just because we've been working on it so long. We, you know, Ellis and I say this frequently, we're very passionate about this. We care so deeply about it, and we feel so close to the material that it kind of comes naturally. And because we've worked with it so just extensively, you know, it came from our hearts, it came from our minds. Yeah.
We started this last year this time. Yeah. Last year this time was when we first started writing. So it's been about a year since we started. So it's been living with us for a while. But go ahead, Mekhai.
So it's building.
Absolutely. It's been living with us for a while. So like when it comes to directing them in it and like giving people notes, we know exactly how our things are supposed to sound. Honestly, the best part about it now is kind of being surprised by our actors. We'll tell them a note. We'll give them like a general theme of the scene and like, this is what you want. This is what this character wants. This is the relationship that you two have. But then, you know, sometimes they make choices that are just like, we would have never saw coming. You know, it's just like, damn, that was great. That was hilarious. And that line wasn't funny before, but now it's hilarious. We're going to do it like that. So
one quick question for you. Can you just break it down to the people who aren't, you know, well-versed in, like, you know, theater and TV, like, you know, talk in that sense? What is a note? And how is it delivered? And how is that? What is the respectful way to deliver a note, and what is the disrespectful way to deliver a note?
So a note is, let's say you're doing a scene and there's a line and the actor interprets it in a way that is not in line with the storytelling. So they do it in a way that is interesting and valid, but for us to get to the next point, it's like we have to manipulate this moment a little bit. So the way to give a bad note is to be like, that sucked, do it again. You know, like, that sucked, do it again. Because at the same time, we're artists and we're sensitive about our shit. So we don't like, you don't want people like being mean to you and berating you, especially when you're trying to be vulnerable and open. So it's like, we were literally talking about this yesterday. It's like, for me, I know when we start directing, because we start filming actually in 2 weeks, but I know for me, I'm going to be speaking to the character. Like, so what does this character want? Why did he say that? How do you feel about this moment? Not you, the actor, the character. So like, the actor's name is Drew. I want to be like, Drew, how does Drew feel about this situation? Because I really don't care about how Drew feels. I care about how Jamal feels. So Jamal, how do you feel about this, blah, 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 blah. And we'll talk about it for a second to get him in the mindset that he has to be. So a note is an adjustment, really. A note is an adjustment. And sometimes we'll have an idea in mind. Like, literally, we were up in my apartment where I am right now until 2:30 in the morning yesterday, blocking it because a lot of the show is going to be filmed in my apartment. So we were blocking it yesterday. So we like have the moves, and that's not going to change. But what happens in between those moves, how people say things, could potentially change. So someone could give us something that we really, really like, and it's like, actually, keep that. We don't need an adjustment here. Keep that. So no, it's just an adjustment. Yeah.
Groovis, because I always like, for myself too. Like I always was like I kind of got what a note was, but I was like, I wonder how they could just like piss an actor off, like because I'm thinking that because my dumb ass was thinking that a note was literally like they would send you, like you would go to your dressing room and then there would be a note addressed to you and you would read it, and then you'd be like, these motherfuckers couldn't even talk to me.
Sometimes in theater, when I was in Aladdin, because I was the standby, and every time I went on, I had notes. Just because it was like, he doesn't do this often, or when he does do it, we want to make sure that the show is tight. So I'll do the show, and sometimes my stage manager, literally, there is a list of notes that is like, you got to do this. It could be like, you were on left of 0 by a ½ inch, we need you on 0. Like it's that specific. It's literally that specific.
It's kind of expected. You come back to your dressing room after a show and you just have like a little printed out paper of just like, this is what you did wrong. Not wrong, but like this is what you can, make better. It's little adjustments, always.
Yeah.
Always.
But in this scenario, it'll definitely just be like, cut. Hey, come here. Let's talk about this real quick. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Let's make an adjustment and go back to it. Yeah.
Now, do each one of your actors have a theater background?
Yeah, they all have degrees in theater. Well, 2 of them have degrees in. One is about to get his degree. One is still in college. Cool. Yeah. One has a degree in theater, and one has a degree in music theater. And he's actually next year will be making his Broadway debut in the Michael Jackson story. MJ is what they're doing. Saeed, the character who's my best friend in real life, is gonna be making his Broadway debut next year. So they're all actors.
Oh, that's fire.
One shout out.
That's
to him.
They going up. The boys is going up.
The reason that I wanted to ask that question is because I was reading something somewhere, and then it was just about like the theater and like acting industry, and it basically said that people who come from theater tend to be way more prepared when they go to acting. No, when they go to acting jobs. Like when they go to acting jobs, like I was reading something. It was like, if you get an actor who comes from Broadway, like live theater, like when they come in there, they know the scene, they know what they're doing, they know what old boy doing, they know everybody else's lines. You don't got to worry about none of that shit with y'all. Like y'all come in there professional as hell. So that's why I wanted to ask y'all, like, just kind of like, did each one of them go to, because then this show is about to, like, I don't think people understand like how much y'all put into this.
Actually, the entire cast, like outside of the 3 boys, the love interest, there's some other characters, all of them are actors. We have people from all different shows. We have people who are in Hamilton that are in this. We have obviously the MJ. We have people who've done TV film. That was in one of the boys, one of the love interests. He was in a Netflix show. He was in a couple of episodes of a Netflix show. Tina Turner the musical. So we have it's gonna be people who know what they're doing. Like
y'all putting y'all foot on these motherfuckers' neck. That's what y'all doing. You're not fucking playing.
And that's what
move out the way.
How did you get how did the casting process go? Was it just like a couple people like just the community, like you just reached out, or?
No, the only person who was cast was Saeed. So it's funny, we started with Lamont Walker is his name, who is my best friend. Yeah, we started with him and we started writing from him, but then we kind of deviated away from it. So every week we would write a script and I'll be talking to him about it. He was like, that used to sound like me, but he's like, now it's further away from who I am. He was like, this isn't me anymore. This is a whole different character. He was like, I like that. So he was the only one who was cast. And then from there, we held auditions. During COVID, we asked people to send in videos, send in self-tapes. We watched a couple. We watched a handful of really great people. And I remember there were moments where it was really hard because people were so good. And we had an idea in our mind of what we thought these boys were going to be. And then one of the actors in particular came in, and I put his video on, and Mekhai looked at me and was like, that's it. We thought we knew, but that's it. And I was like, That's it. Yeah. So, we auditioned, all of the main boys auditioned. So the main boys and all of their love interests auditioned. There's like 3 or 4 people who we asked, who like, it'll be fun to see them because they have followings of their own. So people will be able to see them. And they also just happen to be really good. So from a business standpoint, some of the people who we asked were like, oh, we know if you say you're a part of this, people are going to want to tune in, like, oh my God, let me see what they're working on. But we did not compromise on talent because, you know, in Hollywood and even on Broadway, they stunt cast. And we were very uncompromising on like, we want all of this. We want all of this to be excellent. Like the way it's shot, we want it to be excellent. The way it's acted, we want it to be excellent. The lighting, everything. Literally, once we get off this, I'm about to spend the rest of the day figure out how to light this place and make it as cinematic as possible. So we're very, very dedicated. Like I said, we were literally up till 2:30 in the morning yesterday, holding our laptops, walking through the apartment like, oh, well, what if he walks through here and the camera's through here, you know, stuff like that. So we're very dedicated. But as for the casting goes, it was so weird because we had to ask our friends, you know, do you mind sending in this tape? Like people who like, we'd be like picking it with, you know, it's like, do you mind sending this tape? It felt uncomfortable because like at the beginning, I was definitely apologetic. Like, I mean, you don't have to take it seriously, blah, 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 blah. But once people read the material, they're like, oh, no, I'm going to do this for real. They're like, should I slate? Like, and slating is saying like your name, height, and all that stuff, which is a very formal way of auditioning. We're like, no, you don't got to do all that. Because they're like, I want to take this seriously. So the tapes were top notch. And it was really fun and kind of surreal. That was the first time we ever heard people saying, no, that was the second time. But that was the second time we heard a lot of people saying our words and how they were interpreted. And it was kind of just like an outer body experience. Like, oh my God, this is pretty good. Wow.
And it's really interesting. One of the actors playing the boys, we actually didn't know personally. So my alma mater, I went to University of North Carolina School of the Arts, and one of our boys is a current student there. So me being on Instagram, keeping up with all the goings on down at the school during the pandemic, they were doing a online IG Live cabaret. And the guy playing Anthony Chandler was hosting this, and he had this beret on, and he was just like very much this big personality. And I had never seen him before, never spoken to him before, but I was just like, I texted Ellis, I was like, yo, I think this guy's Anthony. Like, can we get him in for a tape? Hit him up directly after he finished hosting this event. He was like, hey, working on a project, and I think you might be right for one of the roles. Would you mind putting in the tape? He was like, yeah, you know, I think he wasn't even thinking that hard about it. He was just like, yeah, sure, you know, alumni hit me up. It's like, whatever. And he read the material, and like he said earlier, Chandler just felt very seen. He was like, I've never seen material like this, you know?
Yeah, and he blew us away with this tape. I was like, oh, wow. He's really acting. So the acting is going to be really, really, like what I say is we want people to look at this and be like, oh, this could be on TV today. Like it could be on TV today. Like it could be on TV today. We're trying to get as close as that as possible. So we're really excited.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question? How black is the show?
Black as fuck. Black as fuck. Did you see our first? I mean, we're so intentional. The first promo is the dudes playing the Uno game, and in black, what you hear is y'all niggas got me hot.
It's all that shit.
So it's like we're making it very, very clear that this is a very black show, and you like if you're a black person in America, you're just gonna resonate with it because we know that experience obviously from living. You know, we have combined 40 years, like both of us together. We have, you know, experience being this is all we know. So we crack ourselves up. We're also very hard to please, both of us. So sometimes I'll say a joke. I remember this one time I said a joke to Mekhai. Mekhai was like, I'm waiting to learn. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was like, that's not going to work.
Ellis is funny. Don't get me wrong. Like, he does crack me up usually. It's just that one time I was just like, I'm not seeing the humor. I'm like trying to catch the funny and I'm not really grasping.
So, yeah, it's black as fuck. It's black as fuck. And that's why we made it so intentional with that first preview. You know exactly what you're getting. And people got it. They were like, oh, my God. I know that Uno game. Like, I know exactly. He the shit talker. He really don't want to be here. He's over it. He's trying to win. You know, so, yeah.
Here's my question, and this is a very important question. This may be one of the most important questions of this whole interview.
Go ahead.
What was the rules of Uno that y'all had these characters playing by? Because if y'all say some fucked up shit, I don't know. I may have to flip this fucking table.
In real life,
don't do it.
So in real life, the guy who plays Saeed Lamont is like very competitive, and he plays with our house rules. So like it's like you can't like stack two cards. So it can't be like you got an 8 green and then an 8 blue, and you take both and put it down. You can't do that.
All right.
Wait. What kind of shit is this?
Niggas playing Vegas Uno. Niggas playing Vegas Uno.
Nah, I don't fuck with you neither. I'm not banging with none of this shit. You motherfuckers don't know how to play Uno. I swear to God,
Vegas
son, y'all need to go to Long Island to learn how to play some Uno, because I don't know what the fuck going on.
You can't stack.
It's funny because we have an episode where they're playing spades too, so I can't wait to see your shit on that.
We have a spades episode. So, and it comes from real life, an experience that happened to one of us. I won't say who. Happened in real life, and you're gonna see it play out in this spades game of what happened. And someone's really talking shit.
Did somebody get set like 2 or 3 times, and they were talking shit beforehand?
Yes.
They were over. And then let me guess, they were over fucking bidding. Because they can't count the cards.
You'll see. It's gonna be really funny. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that there was stuff culturally in it that instantly you see and it resonates with you, and it's like, I know this feeling. So we're really excited about that. But it's black as fuck, like unapologetically black. Like that's why we came out with that trailer first, because we were trying to find the song and we were like, oh, that's perfect.
That's it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Son, that it's still ridiculous that y'all don't know how to play Uno. But I do have y'all don't know.
So yeah,
it irks me. But I do have a serious question for y'all. Because you did actually you've touched on it. You've touched on it already, speaking about Jamal's future relationship that he's going to get into. It's going to be interracial. But I want to know, has the current events that's going on, you know what I mean, with not only the election, but then we got Amy Barnett, who she's gonna get the nomination. You know, they have the Senate, so when she does that, you know, Obamacare is up for grabs, and then also gay marriage is up for grabs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, with a whole bunch of slew of things, and that doesn't matter who the president is coming in. You know what I mean, if it's Biden or if it's Trump. So are these events, have y'all had to go back to the script and say we may have to change this up a little bit, or have y'all just stuck by what you've already created and just said fuck it?
You know what? Outside of this moment, I don't think we had to go back and change anything because it was already there. That what's going on, the circumstances right now. I remember, so like I said, we wrote this script a year ago, and then we came back to it April, March-ish is once we started. The summer really is when we started doing rewrites, and so much has changed. I called Mekhai, I was like, we got to change the script. Yeah. I was like, we would be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about things that were going on right now. Because at first, the show's always good, but at first it was like, oh, this is fun, this is cute. But now it's like we're really touching on things, and it's also really funny and really heartwarming. But I don't think that we had to change anything because we layer it in a way that it's like them dealing with it on a daily basis. You see, and they come home, you know, like when you just had a crazy day and you come home and you kick it with your boys, like that's when the conversations happen. And we always go back to home. We always go back to the three of them. And that's when we explore these larger topics that are going on in America right now. Yeah. Anywhere from like, you know, Black Lives Matter movement to COVID to the presidency, like we're touching on all of it, which was not there a year ago. And it just would be to me tone deaf to not talk about it, you know. And especially because like the men we were when we started this are drastically different than the men we are now. I remember reading and be like, oh my God, my views on so many things have changed. Like for instance, when we were talking about the interracial relationship, we didn't really get into the particulars of it, what that's like the first go round. The first go round, it was just like, oh, like he's just dating this white boy, you know, and like you're gonna more see them. We kind of talked about it, but in this version, iteration of the show, we really get into it And we really get into it, and why we thought it was so good now is because specifically what's happening with Black lives in America.
Right.
So it's like, how am I dealing with this? And I think as it goes for what's going on judicially with same-sex marriage and stuff like that, we don't really touch on it, but I think that this show in itself is very political because it is an act of resistance to be joyful. It is an act of resistance to be Black and living truthfully in who you are. So even though we don't touch on the specifics of what's going on at this present moment with the nominee, it's been baked into the show. It's in the DNA of the show. It's in the spirit of the show. And like I said, the show is just it's kind of like an act of protest. And then you see us touch on some really, really touching, poignant things in a way that is digestible for everybody. But at the same time, it's like, we're holding y'all up to the fire. We're not gonna let y'all go on this. Like, we're going to be relentless with what we're talking about, and you'll see it. You'll see it.
So
Absolutely,
I have a question.
Yeah. Everything he said.
So are y'all going to release episodes? Are y'all gonna do the right thing? What I mean by doing the right thing, are y'all gonna treat this like Netflix, and then can you just put it all out there and allow us to binge it? Or are y'all gonna have us coming back week by week?
What are you gonna do?
Netflix has fucking spoiled me. Let me tell you, when Disney releases The Mandalorian week by week or anything else that they do week by week, I'm cursing the motherfucking storm up.
Well, you're gonna have to curse us out. You're gonna have to curse us out.
Oh, y'all ain't shit but no hot piece of a biscuit with no water.
Here's the plan. So we're dropping the first 4 episodes in February. Then we're gonna drop the next 6. There's 10 episodes in the first season. So the first 4 you will be able to binge, but then you will have to wait for the next 6. It is.
Will I be able to binge on the 6?
Say it again.
Will I be able to binge on the 6, or am I have to wait week by week?
Well, we're gonna see. We'll see what the pushback is once we drop those first 4. We're gonna listen to everybody. We'll listen to see what fans got to say about shit. But I definitely think that you will be able to binge the first 4. I can promise you that.
He said, "That's all I can give you.
That's all I'm
I can't give you nothing." I'm not holding anything else. So I respect it. So how has COVID now? Oops, because I saw that I saw the promo picture that they took of you directing the scene, and then you see your camera guy with the mask on for COVID. Mm-hmm. How are y'all? So how does it go for y'all in production with fucking COVID? Like how are y'all handling that shit?
Before the promo shoots, we made sure everybody was clean. Nobody had it or anything or had come into contact with it. And we just kind of implement protocol before sets, before shoots. Masks are into. We also implemented COVID into the script, so a couple times throughout the thing. They make jokes about it. They talk about it, being in public spaces, they always have a mask on, So it's incorporated in the way it is kind of in our lives, you can't go into any public space. You can't go into any establishment without a mask on. And that kind of works the same thing on the set. We're not going to have people around who are not wearing masks. When we're in public, when we're outside, we will always have a mask on. And they're also wearing it a couple times through our scenes. And the actors will all have their own, so it hasn't, it's only held us back in the way that we had to push deadlines back because of
dealing with everything.
It's not going to hold anything back.
Groovers.
I like that.
And I like how you guys you embraced it almost and kind of put it into the script.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people can relate to that on that kind of level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now I have one more question for y'all, and then we're gonna let y'all kind of get after y'all dizzy. So
he's like, "Nigga, I got shit to do, nigga. I gotta go create."
Yeah, well, no, because Ellis already said what he's got to do. He's gonna have to go back and he's gonna be mapping out tracks. And we have one hell of a day ahead of us. Right. We have a day. So I do want to know one thing. If you could describe your show to a person in America who is not knowledgeable of our community in 5 sentences or less, No, excuse me. I'm going to give you 3. 3 sentences or less. What would it be?
Set to the backdrop of Brooklyn, New York, For the Boys follows 3 queer Black 20-somethings navigating love, life, and friendship.
That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And they had no idea about these questions, people. So
I have also one more question. So what makes For the Boys different from other queer, Black queer? First of all, if there's any other Black queer,
Noah's Ark would be
okay.
Is Noah's Ark the only one? I don't know if there is another one out there.
I mean,
yeah.
I haven't seen anyone else. I think the only ones, like, if you research and when you look them up, I think you get Noah's Ark, you get Queer as Folk,
Pose,
L Word, but then Queer as Folk and L Word
right?
those are white.
and
then
then Pose is definitely
what's Pose?
Pose. It's
on
about
FX.
the
Hose.
Yeah.
Pose. No, Pose. Pose.
Oh,
like Pose. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pose is a show that takes place. Have you ever seen Paris is Burning? No, Paris is Burning. Okay, so it's about the ballroom culture, the underground ballroom scene in New York City in the 80s during the AIDS epidemic. And it's about these Black and brown queer people who live together that compete in these like balls. Yeah. Do you know ballroom culture by any at all? Yeah. So they compete.
Yeah, that's when like that's
So
where drag
see,
shows kind of came from.
Yeah, kind of started. Yeah,
kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a show that was revolutionary in so many ways because not only are they Black,
we saw that in college. I'm sorry, we had a class. It just came back to me. Social economics class with Professor Walsh. We saw this. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Paris is Burning. Yeah.
I don't know if it was Paris is Burning, but like this is I'm remembering something.
Yeah. So Pose came out
not
like
Paris is Burning, but we saw Milk. No, it was something. No. It was besides Milk. It was something else because it was specifically about like.
Was it a documentary or was it a movie?
A documentary.
Was it called The Queen? Where it's like these people getting ready for this competition. I know there's one, and then there's like
yes, I remember watching this in college for class.
Yeah, so
sociology. I remember watching this. I don't know, maybe you don't. I remember watching this specifically in class.
And Pose also is huge for the trans community. You get to see a lot, and they're played by trans actors of color, which is beautiful. So that's a beautiful show. But it's kind of it's relevant, but it's also a period piece because it's talking about a very specific time in history. Mm-hmm. So this show, what was the original question?
The original question was, how does For the Boys stack up and differ from the rest of the show?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't fully develop that one.
Our show is modern. Our show is set in 2020. Our show depicts life as it is right now, a slice of life. So I would kind of compare, I would say it's Insecure meets Noah's Ark, you know? Insecure happens today. We know those women right now. We see those, that style right now, that way of life right now. So I think that's what makes us different and more accessible, you know, because it is the millennial lifestyle, it is the current lifestyle, and it is the most modern depiction of queer Black life, you know? I think that's what makes us different, for sure, and new and fresh.
And once again, go ahead, Ellis.
I was gonna say it's funny as fuck. It's really funny. We'll be rereading the script. Even we had a day where we were reading our latter 6 episodes of season 1. We were like, oh my God, this is like laughing, like dying laughing out loud at ourselves. Because it's funny, we were writing this, in my room. Sometimes Mekhai was in Rock of Ages off Broadway. So Mekhai would come from Rock of Ages, which would end around 10. Woo! He would show up at my house around 11. And sometimes he wouldn't leave until 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, wow, look at the stuff we've created. So yeah, and it's really personal to both of us. And it's felt with a lot of heart. Like we put our souls into this. So you're going to see, even though you won't see us, you'll see us.
Amen.
Oh. Bars. Bars.
For sure.
Listen here, people. This has been one hell of a fucking ride. We got one. And then listen, when this, because I have a feeling this is going to be like a cult classic first. like it's going to have like a cult. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna hit. But listen, we thank both of y'all brothers for coming on.
For sure.
Listen, thank you, Ellis, for coming again.
No
Mekhai,
problem.
thank you for coming on the first time. We appreciate it.
Ellis gets a little finder's fee because he brought Mekhai on for another.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
You get the second episode free.
It's all free. It's all free. It's all free because that's how our budget works. Because we don't have that bread. So the way this budget is set up. So, but listen, thank y'all once again. We appreciate it. Listen, I am Dean. That is the Madman Los. This is Black of the Berry, and we are out. Oh, listen, kind of fit, kind of fat. Look at me. I'm getting there. All right.